gentlemen, and our fantastic audiences here at the Arth Culture Fest, we would like to now go ahead and start with our first panel discussion for the day. This one, ladies and gentlemen, is a panel discussion that is titled and is around the Indian classical dance. You see, Indian classical dance has a history and a manifestation across the globe. Followers who love the performance across the globe. So on the same, we will have our panelists now joining us and discussing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an eminent panel of panelists who would be joining us in. Let me start by inviting our first panelist, Ms. Shovana Narayan. Ms. Shovana Narayan, a celebrated Kathak dancer, was awarded the prestigious Padma Shri in 1992. She is a disciple of Pandit Birju Maharaj, and just like him, Ms. Narayan is popular as both a Kathak performer and a guru in herself. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. She has mesmerized audience both in India and internationally. She is also an acclaimed author, a social thinker, and has also acted in films. Thank you very much for joining us here, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our second panelist for the day, Ms. Madhavi Mudgal. She's one of the leading classical dancers of India. She's highly renowned exponent of the Odissi style, a principal disciple of legendary Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra. Numerous awards have been awarded and honored to her, including the President of India's award of Padma Shri, and many awards from the government of France, the Sanskriti Award, the Central Sangeet Natak Academy Award, the Delhi government's Parishad Samman, and the Nritya Chudamani from Chennai. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Madhavi Mudgal. हमारे बीच हमारी अगली पैनलिस्ट को मैं बुलाना चाहूँगा मिस मेथिल देविका. She hails from the Palakkad district in Kerala and is a practitioner, educator and researcher of dance. Her first guru was Kalamamani S. Natarajan of Tanjavur, who is the senior most acharya of Bhagavata Mela Natika Sampradaya of Melatur in Tanjavur. She is trained in Mohiniyattam at the Regatta Cultural Society, Thiruvananthapuram, and under the late Kalamanadalam Leelama. She has received national accolades like the Ustad Bismillah Khan Yuva Puraskar for 2007 and the Devadasi National Award from the Devadasi Nitya Mandir, Orissa, to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together while we welcome Ms. Devika on stage. Welcome, ma'am. आखिर में मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगा Miss Geeta Chandran ka, who's a celebrated artist and a star performer, a classical Indian dancer, a choreographer. She uses her inordinate skills in Bharatnatyam as a force multiplier for the widest range of dance issues that have engaged her focus. Ladies and gentlemen, she's been awarded the prestigious National Award Padma Shri by the President of India in 2007. She has also been conferred the equally prestigious National Sangeet Natak Academy Puraskar for Bharatnatyam in 2016, which she received from the Honorable Prime Minister of India in 2018. Geeta has also been awarded the Tagore National Fellow bestowed by the Government of India, Ministry of Culture. Please put your hands together for Ms. Chandran. Welcome, ma'am. स्वागत है आपका. और आखिर में इस सेशन को मॉडरेट करने के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगा सुजॉय प्रसाद चैटर्जी जी का, who is an interdisciplinary artist, specialist in spoken words and theatre. He is the founder of the SPC Craft, the city's only interdisciplinary art collective. He voices his expression on gender, sexuality, social abuse and humanity through his art. There's much more about him, ladies and gentlemen, for you to discover. Put your hands together for our moderator, Sujoy Prosad Chatterjee. Over to you, Mr. Chatterjee.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. you know, when you sit with the divas around you, you better be noted. You better try and look brighter. So that's what I just did. And I don't know how much of a bouquet and bunch of thank yous that I can tell Z, because it is so amazing to be seated with such iconic personalities. Because you know, not every day you get a chance to sit with somebody like a Madhavi Mudgal or a Geeta Chandran or Shovana Narayan and somebody as Methil Devika, because I'm not a dancer, and but I'm a huge fan of the classical arts, and it's important to understand and talk about, at least open a dialogue. Arth is just not a culture fest. It's about preserving heritage and culture, and open up dialogues about classical arts, about arts in general. So if we at least can, by this forum, initiate a dialogue with all of you about the health and about the future of arts, then possibly we've achieved a 0.5% of our job. And that's what we're going to try and do here. Don't worry, we are not going to be laying this session with jargons, but we're going to talk to these iconic dancers and ask them, artists, how they feel about classical dance today, and we will definitely request all of them for a bit of abhinaya and a demonstration. I know they can't say no to me. Hardly people in India can say no to me. But the fact is, I understand for sure that we have 40 minutes. We will also have a few question answers, Q&A with all of you as well. But I would like to begin this session. There's no hierarchy that we would believe here. We're all you know, seated here to talk about arts. And I'll start with my left-leaning, my Calcutta genes, Geeta Chandran. Geeta is a very dear old friend of mine, and I know her when I was a struggler in Delhi. I'm still struggling, but the struggle is a little lower now. But before that, I hope we must thank Mongia Steel, we must thank Brook Bond Red Label, we must thank Senko Gold Jewelers, we must thank Manevar, and of course Spotify presenting the Arth Culture Fest promoted by Z Network. Geeta, I remember this very precisely many years back when we had interviewed, we'd asked you to come for a session to talk about Abhinaya. There was this 18-year-old girl in the audience, which was very surprising for me. You sang something and you said it was Haveli Sangeet, and she said, "Ma'am, iska CD milta hai." So that was quite fascinating in a way that if you probably present something in a more interactive way, people can possibly, because you know, Haveli Sangeet is not something that everybody would understand. But let's understand this from your perspective, that what do you see as the future or the health of classical dance today in the country?
Thank you, Sujoy. It's true that I've known Sujoy for many, many years and have been
Thank you.
kind of following him on Facebook, thanks to Facebook. I think we are living in an age of social media. So I just feel that gone are the days where somebody would ask, is there a CD? They'd just click your name and see what is where. So the CD is all over. That's long back. So I just feel that there are a lot of pluses and minuses to technology. I just feel, yes, today's day and age, we use technology a lot, much more than what we used to use earlier. I'm saying technology because you started me on the CD thingy.
Yes.
So I think teaching has become technology-oriented. We have Skype classes, particularly in Carnatic music.
Wow.
I have never understood how it can be learned, but I'm sure there must be a way out because we are still not doing that as yet. But there will be a time when we will also be maybe doing it because it's becoming international. So I think the whole teaching, dancing, whole scenario is completely changed from the way it was when I went to my teacher, who wouldn't let me take a notebook inside the class. She would say, retain what you learn, go back home and write if you want to. Today, there is a notebook, there is a photocopy of the song given, there is an audio recording given, and sometimes a video recording given of the class.
My God.
And qualitatively, has the dance bettered? No. That would be my answer. And as far as the social media goes, I think it's a great way of keeping in touch. You can't see many performances, but you see them live on television, whether it's Khajuraho, whether it is Konark. We get to know what's happening. We are abreast with what's happening. But on the other side, I see some artists who are a product of social media.
Right.
And that I find is something very scary, because the core learning and core understanding is not there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
And
you can
it's
create a
just
Bharatanatyam
flashy.
dancer out of social media.
It's just a flashy dancing, which you feel is, you have a good figure and you flaunt it around and you become a dancer and you have maximum hits. And then there is this thing, oh, I have only so many likes, you have how many likes. This kind of thing, I think, is very dangerous. I don't think that is something that I subscribe to. So I think the downside is that, but the plus side is to be connected, much more connected.
Fantastic.
And to understand what's happening. And as far as the health of all the dance forms goes, I think we are not doing very well economically. I must say this, because I can't look into the eyes of a very talented young dancer and say, give up everything and come to dance. I just don't have the confidence of saying that, simply because I don't think the kitchen fires can be kept burning by just performing.
Right, absolutely. Madhaviji, let's hear from you.
Considering the number of students who learn classical dance, it's a lot, much, much more than our times, because of the awareness or because of students thinking that this will give them some kind of, advantage in terms of social whatever.
Yeah,
setting.
you know what, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I must help you to also enunciate this thing. Has Odissi as a form grown? Like, has it grown? Do you add new forms to it?
Well, it depends on what you call growing. Growing in classical terms,
Yes.
I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
But growth in terms of many dancers experimenting with the form,
Right.
yes, many dancers are doing it. Well, of course, experimenting is good, and sometimes some interesting forms emerge. But I think experimentation should come after you have mastered that. Of course, even at this age, I can't say I've mastered that.
Of course.
But the rudiments, the basics of the form, the music accompanying it, the literary part of it, you have to really go deep into it to be able to experiment.
Is it possible for you to explain with maybe a minute of a bhav or a abhinaya on stage, which you can possibly demonstrate and talk about it as well? That'll be very interesting for all of us,
But
Madhaviji.
it doesn't connect to this anyway.
That's fine. We are talking about classical dance anyway. A little bit of it.
Well,
Okay, all right, we could do
Yes.
that. Yes, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll continue with our discussion with Shovana ji. Shovana ji, what is your comment about the health of classical dance in this country?
Well, as far as the health of the classical dance in the country is concerned, I would like to just address it in a different way.
Okay.
If I look at the numbers,
Yes.
the number of people wanting to learn classical dance has gone up. That's growing day by day.
Okay.
But the whole thing is the quality.
Okay.
What about the quality?
Which
How
Geeta was
many
also
of
saying.
them are going to actually keep up with it? How many of them are actually understanding it? Having said that, I would also like to say that whether it was in yesteryears or it's today, that the number of people who are learning classical dance is a large, compared to earlier times when the population was much smaller. So, but even in percentage terms, the percentage has gone up. But there's only a very small, niched percentage which really goes into it and survives, which is there because for the sake of dance alone. Now the question is that good or bad? The fact is that, and what was it? Why has it increased? And when I'm a product of the 50s, you know, we are not young people anymore. So at that time when we were growing up, the entire atmosphere was different. It was not the socially done thing for a girl from a good family to take to dance. Today it is. It is considered an asset. So because it is considered an asset, so many people are learning it. It gives you the way to walk. But have they really understood why is it? Why is it? I would like to even address the young children of today, the young students of today. What is the difference between a classical art form and a popular entertainment art form? Now, when you look at and when we are even talking in terms of ritualisms, today is Shivratri, and we are talking in terms of ritualisms, how many of them have understood as to why Shiva was made out to be Nataraj? Why is Saraswati handed a veena in her hands? Why has Krishna, when you ask anybody, they'll immediately put the flute signifying Krishna. Nobody will think of him as the Dwarkadhish Krishna.
Absolutely.
So what happens? Have we understood the basic import of these symbolisms which were there in our philosophy, but which we don't understand? About creating the personality, a developed personality. Now that is where I'm talking about when you're talking about the health of the Indian classical dance and the health of the nation. Because both of it, health of the people, the kind of people we are churning out. Now health of the Indian classical dance, again as my colleagues have just said, economically it's a different kettle of fish. It is a difficult survival, but at the same time, in spite of the fact that it's a difficult survival, yet why is it? What is it that makes artists still pursue it, still be involved in it? There must be something to it. And that is something that we need to sometimes, even in our leisure moment, think upon, that dwell upon, as to what makes it. Then also when I look at when you're talking about the health of Indian classical dance, I still also feel that a lot of children who have learned and who have gone out and they have left dance, I know of many instances after 20 years or 25 years of, if I can say, sabbatical leave from dance, they have actually given up their most lucrative careers, say in some Microsoft or Google or whatever, and they've come back to dance. And when you ask them, why have you come back to dance? They said, we never had peace of mind. We never had, and here is something that I'm doing because it gives me peace of mind. It gives me inner happiness, inner satisfaction. And so now Indian classical dances have actually been drawing back people after they have made their careers and they've done their journey and they've suddenly realized that they need to come back again. So that is also a beautiful statement. That is also speaks about the health of the strength. I would not say the health, but I will say the strength of our Indian classical performing arts. So I think so there is so much in it. It is not necessary that for the strength of Indian classical dance, we need to make it aam. There's a Diwane Khas and a Diwane Aam. So when a Diwane Aam is the popular arts, but this has always been the Diwane Khas. Of our mind, of our hearts, of our being. And therefore it will remain to be so. And its flame, its devotional flame, which is really the inward journey. And through that inward journey, it's a mode of self-expression. we are also reaching out. And then those vibrations are spreading around.
Excellent.
So I think we are talking about it at different levels.
Of course.
When
of
we
course.
talk about
Of
the
course.
health of Indian classical dance.
Of course.
Why is it that despite all the yugs which have come and gone, all the ups and downs, socio-political ups and downs, which India has been witnessing through thousands of years, yet the stream, the river of our classical performing arts, it goes on uninterrupted. It has its peaks, it has its lows, but yet it
goes
goes
uninterrupted.
on. It
That
goes
is-
on and on. The flow goes on and on.
Absolutely. How beautifully said. Methil, will you throw a little light on this?
Well, you said there is no hierarchy here, but I
No.
completely see two big hierarchy, they and me, because I really
No,
belong
you know,
to the new gen.
I'll tell you there is no hierarchy for me
All right.
because I'm a moderator and I felt
I'm so
because
pleased
all
to
of
be
you are
sitting here.
artists and
Yeah.
all of you are here to assimilate
Yes.
perspectives.
Yeah.
I would like you to know, I would like you to tell me, because since you said that you're in probably a more younger league of dancers now, what is your perspective, or how are you looking at classical dance
Yeah.
today, especially with Mohiniyattam, which is
Yeah.
a work in progress
Yeah.
art form itself?
See, to be very practical, when the floods hit Kerala,
Yeah.
artists were the ones who suffered greatly because we went jobless for a couple of months.
Right.
Essentially because dance is not a primary need for many people. For us, yes.
Of course.
And perhaps it's in the fifth need, perhaps self-actualization. And we were jobless, we went without money or performances. And then I wondered, then if this were to continue under the spell of some disaster, then what is the future of art?
Right.
Talking about Mohiniyattam as such, Mohiniyattam itself, I think, vis-a-vis the rest of the classical dance forms, is already within a lot of other boundaries. One is that it is a feminine dance form. One, it has to be graceful and it has to have Sringara. You have three very big restrictions over there.
Right.
So unless you break out of that, I don't think it's easy to get to the mass. Now, I, as a performer, I feel that it's right now youngsters are more into the final product of the performance. But
Right.
the process of many years itself is the performance, because you learn a lot of things. And dance is a very, very minimal term to be using for Indian classical dance. If there's some other term, that would be better, because we are not dancing. We have a lot of other things when we do Indian classical dance. There's a lot of understanding of the philosophy, there's a lot of internalizing, there's a lot of literature, there's a lot of assimilating, you know, the wholeness or the aspect of communicating or connecting with the other person. So it's very different from an entertainment dancing, right? So for me, the thing is, it should just not be about the self, fine, but at a certain level, I think it should also be bringing about, we should also think about bringing about mass into our performance. We've always addressed the class, or we always have a niche audience. Now, where is the mass? Now, you attend literature festivals. I see people from various demographic profiles sitting for literature festivals, or even for theater festivals. But for dance festivals, we have the audience that is seen, and we expect them to know everything. But I feel somewhere that line has to be broken between the mass and the dancer.
On that note, before I actually request all of you to demonstrate a bit of your art forms, I want to ask Madhavi ji something, and all of you, if you can throw a little light on this, that do you all, as a classical dancer, face threat of Bollywood? Like, there is of Bollywood. I'll tell you why, because now there are, at least in Calcutta, I know that there are these schools which have come up which teaches Bollywood dance. So is Bollywood dance a dance format? I mean, I'm very intrigued to know, because for me, dance originates in the classical form and ends there. how contemporary you become. Your root is classical dance. But as classical dancers, do you feel that when you teach students today, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people just don't want to come and become dancers who come to you. Probably they want to come into the limelight. They want to be doing choreography for Bollywood films. You never know. People have different occupations, have different aspirations. What is that you face as a threat, Madhaviji, today?
Well, I look at it this way. You know, Bhimsen Joshi, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi ji will have only a niche audience.
Yes.
And Lata Mangeshkar ji, I mean, of course, she's a great artist. They'll have a different audience. Of course. Classical arts are not aimed at, but they are for the sensitive few who can respond to it. We call them rasikas. We don't call them audience. You know, people who are capable of tasting the rasa that one is trying to create.
Right.
So it's not a threat, and it's not just Calcutta, but the whole world that we have Bollywood classes. Whether it's Eastern Europe or America or England, anywhere.
I'm sure.
And lots of non-Indians also learn Bollywood.
Yes. Yes.
Because they watch Bollywood, and it's easy to dance Bollywood.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, it's easier to learn a few steps if you have a basic talent and be able to do a piece. But for classical arts, for 15 years, we say, no, abhi tum karte raho. They'll never reach anywhere. So, you know, you have to have that passion for the arts. You have to have passion to be able to, you know, understand and master. Because when you start learning for the first 10 years, you think you know. You know, you think, I know these items, I can dance. After 10, 15 years, you start understanding the art form. So it's such a long process. So I don't find it as a threat. It's nice that more people do some kind of dancing. But yes, what I feel is that a Bollywood dancer can get so much money to perform, and an Indian classical artist who has danced forever, I know. Craves for even minimum musician's payment.
Of course. Geeta, what do you think about this?
I think the world over we have popular art and the classical.
Yeah.
So if you see ballet, it's pretty similar to the kind of situation we are in the sense that this is a very acquired taste in a sense. You know, it's not something that is instant gratification.
Yes.
Unfortunately, today's everything is instant gratification. Whether it is tea, it is dip tea, it is 2-minute noodles. Everything has to be instantly made, instantly eaten, instantly digested, and instantly thrown out also. So, you know, that in that kind of a situation, yes, the classical do look a little anachronistic, because simply this 20 years of learning, 15 years of learning does seem a long period of commitment that you make to really learn something that is so laborious and so painstaking. So having said that, I think the numbers, if they have increased, there's something, as Shovana ji said, that is attracting in spite of the Bollywood being there. You have a Bollywood class, you also have a Bharatanatyam class or a Kathak dance, and that both classes are in a sense full. Of course, Bollywood people come and go because 15 days you learn, 15 days you're out, and then you forget what you've learned in that 15 days, right? So it's not something like, it's not a life-changing thing like Bharatanatyam or the classical art forms are, where it nurtures the soul, and it is something that can change you from inside. It can make you a person who is, as she said, sensitive about handlooms, sensitive about poetry, sensitive about philosophy, sensitive about movement, about body, posture, and the list is endless. So if you want to engage in something like that, obviously it's going to take time. It cannot be a 15-day, and unfortunately today people think everything can be picked up from the net and from a 15-day workshop. But unfortunately there are still things in life which you need to soak in, which you need to really, in a sense, give yourself up to get something as beautiful as the classical. So I think even while coming to a classical recital, I think it's not about seeing, it's about experiencing the classical. So I think there is some initiation that is required to be able to completely, and there I find we are not doing a good job in education. The basic thing is that in schools, We don't have anything that makes few people, makes the young proud of inheriting a culture as strong and as sensitive and as sophisticated as the arts. So I think it's easy to be teaching a lot of other things in the name of tokenism towards the arts. But what I seriously feel in schools is we cannot teach the dance, but we can make rasikas in school. You need to make them understand the beauty and the range and the possibility of the classical. That's what you need to give them. You don't need to give them tate, teitat, ate, teitat, and tayyate. Unfortunately, this is what we are bogged down in school by teaching them the basics, which is not at all required. You need to make them read biographies. You need to make them see good dance. Excellent dancing. So that level and that, I see many times you see a half-baked Bharatanatyam recital or an Arangetram and you say, classical is so boring. Now, if you don't see the best and you see an amateur filmmaker and you see an amateur film and you say, I don't like films, it's the same thing. So I think informed choice, informed decision-making is very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Shovana ji, what is your take on this?
Well, I agree with what my two colleagues have said. And I would just like to mention one thing. That, if I have to, when you talked about it's a naughty little thing.
Yeah, that's
that
fine.
I'm going to a comparison that I'm going to give. When you talked about the health, so the health में खाने का बहुत होता है. आप ये खाइए, वो नहीं खाइए, ये health के लिए अच्छा है, वो health के लिए अच्छा नहीं है, वो health के लिए अच्छा नहीं है. So if I take the same symbolism, then there's a difference between पौष्टिक आहार and something which is there for just the chatpata. So
very well said. Yeah.
So the popular arts is the chatpata, like the chutneys, etc., or dessert. But can you really live on chutneys and desserts the whole time? You need your proper paushtik ahar.
True.
So that is where the Indian classical performing arts comes in. So unfortunately, I said, that I'm going to do this little naughty comparison.
I agree. I understand what you're saying.
And I would also like to say, when we are talking about Bollywood culture, and I don't blame the little children. What is happening? What is all around us? What is happening all around? What is the media doing? What is the television, electronic media, print media? What is the general discussion around? What are we showing them? Earlier, there used to be a discussion on classical arts. When we were growing up, there was more discussion on classical arts. There was more emphasis on classical arts rather than on popular arts.
True.
But which had its own genre. So you can't, that has its own space. Poetry also, it has its own space. The classical literature, classical performing arts has its own space. Both have their own spaces and both have always coexisted. It's not that they have not coexisted. But today, what is it? It's been an unhealthy tilt. Only the balance is more tilting towards. So what are the little children exposed to? They are only exposed to the popular arts. So therefore, they develop a mindset of the popular arts being the thing. And it is much later that they realize. And in fact, we've had, all of us as classical dancers have had this sometime or the other, some parent coming and saying, कितने दिन में हमारी बच्ची जो है स्टेज पे चली जाएगी और क्या वो टेलीविजन में करेगी, क्या वो करे. So I always say, sorry, you've dialed the wrong number. I'm sorry, that is not here. We are not the instant coffee variety or instant tea variety. So, so when parents themselves are like that, obviously, what will they be nurturing their children? And it reminds me that when we are talking about school education and school curriculum, way back in the 80s, my son was going to an Austrian school because
I know.
My husband being an Austrian, so he was there. Now, in their school, even in primary as well as in secondary, middle school and secondary school, they had a whole subject on appreciation of their classical music.
Of course.
And that, since then, I have been talking about it. I remember even there used to be a knowledge commission at one point of time. I even wrote to them, why don't we include it as part of the curriculum about appreciation of Indian classical literature, writers, performing arts, etc., artists in our curriculum, in our educational curriculum. Of course, it happens slowly. There are many schools which have, slowly it's taking place, but much more needs to be done.
Absolutely.
By us as members of society, by each and every one as members of society, everyone in the different fields that they are in, whether it is in the X field or Y field or Z field. I think each one of us needs to not abdicate our responsibility in terms of the profits,
Of course.
but let's talk in terms of profit of culture, profit of making the health of the nation. I'm going to ask you a question. How many classical artists are involved in violence?
In finance?
In violence.
In violence. Okay.
It'll make you think.
No,
क्लासिकल आर्टिस्ट हैं हमारी डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन है लेकिन हम कहेंगे आप बेसुरे हैं आप बेताले हैं लेकिन हमारी जो डिफरेंसेस है वो सुर और ताल में हम बेसुरे और बेताले कह देंगे लेकिन हम छुरा नहीं उठाएंगे
जी
हम पिस्तौल नहीं उठाएंगे
No, that's true. But what you just said is very important. I'm going to kind of take the last bit of discussion and then go into performances. And this is only for Methil. That when you look at the item numbers in Bollywood today, which always has a tend of either vulgarity or erotica in the right sense of the word. I'm just saying that, do you see that also as an onslaught on classical dance? I'll ask you why. Because even a Madhuri Dixit, if she had to perform a number in Devdas, she had to come to a Birju Maharaj to understand the steps, or, somebody like a Bipasha Basu, who's dancing to Biri Jalaile in a film like Omkara. She's infusing classical dance forms into popular dance forms. So they would not probably agree, because I know of a lot of dancers who actually demonstrated to show that, how they have actually copied classical dance forms and saying it's an item number, What is your take on this? Do you see an onslaught of Bollywood into this periphery?
No, actually I don't, because these are all different genres.
Okay.
And in fact, there's nothing called Bollywood dancing. It's just something that happens in that particular stream or in that field.
Thank you for saying that.
Talking on that note, I would like to, a very interesting comment I got from a gentleman who said, why can't Indian classical dance be like a lady's skirt? And I said, why? Why can't it be short enough to be interesting and long enough to cover the subject? So you see, what he meant was that we have these long drawn concerts, and for people like him, why is it that it's not available perhaps for half an hour and in a gist? On that note, I would think organizations like Spic Mackay do a great work by bringing this to schools and colleges, and I wish there were more organizations and more people who would take this forward to the younger generation.
Fantastic.
So it's also the perspective of the artist, you see. If I have an audience and I look at the profile of my audience and I think, okay, this is what would work here in the best, not about bringing my art down, not by dancing to the gallery, but by actually taking them up. And I think that is the onus is on the dancer. We are
Absolutely.
always within, I think we are in a very closed circuit. You tell me, for example, in films, you have a director who casts different actors, and they're all extremely good actors. Why isn't it that a dancer directs and she calls acclaimed dancers for a production of hers? Now, why is it that she dances, she conceptualizes, she markets it? It's all about herself.
Agreed. Absolutely. You hit the right chord here. We will actually close this session. We will finish with your performance. Geeta, My friend, will you please show us some moves with Bharatanatyam, if you do not mind?
No.
I mean, some Abhinaya, which is, I know what a fantastic dancer you
There's
are.
no music.
I know,
be the
but
background.
in case you can, think that the silence or this,
I can only say a jati.
okay, do that.
Tadiku didiku taka dingu takita taka din ding kukuta kukuta dingu takku din dingu takku drgdatta lanku taka tadiku didiku taka dingu takita taka din ding kukuta dingu takku din dingu takku drgdatta lanku taka tadiku didikuta dinguta takata dingutai tadiku dingu takata dingu kradakata dingu nakata dinguta ditta taditta kradakata taditta 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 taditta.
Lovely. Can we have a big round of applause? थोड़ा हवेली संगीत सुना दे यार. कितना दिन हो गया? अच्छा. Okay, that would be great. Yes. Let's have a little combination.
Acha, wo
Hanji.
Indendu
Zarur.
one padam, she'll sing one line
sure.
and I'll
And you can show us. Ladies and gentlemen, Madhavi Mudgal showing you a demonstration. Big round of applause. She's so iconic in India. Please, ma'am.
Indendu vanchiti viram Indendu vanchiti viram Alada
Kojo, kojo.